So, My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 319 has been translated, and from what we have with this chapter, after this 2-week break, Horikoshi has come back with a bang! And you'll understand why that is very appropriate for this chapter right after this intro. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy Manga Man Drew here to talk to you about My Hero Academia Manga Chapter 319 titled Friend. This is going to be a very Class 1A centered chapter where we get a little bit of information about what Class A has been doing this entire time and how the heck they were able to find Deku. We'll talk a little bit more about that right after I give this little plug to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Manga Man Drew if you like My Hero Academia content, and if you do, hit that bell to be notified for whenever I upload a video, because I do My Hero Academia discussions, spoilers, and reviews, as well as do other anime, manga related things on this channel. So if that's something that you're interested in, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And without the way, let's get right into the review. So, to start off, we have a little bit of information about what's going to be going on officially in this chapter from what we have with the early translations, is that apparently there is going to be 3 continuous color pages for this chapter. Unfortunately, when it comes to what we have right now, we only have 1, but the reasoning for that is that it is to celebrate the 7th anniversary of My Hero Academia being serialized. So it's been 7 years since My Hero Academia has been running in Shonen Jump, and because of that, they're going to be giving it 3 consecutive color pages. Unfortunately, we only get the 1, but even with this 1 page that we have, it's very beautiful and very vibrant when it comes to its colors, as we get to see Uraraka as well as Ida basically questioning Bakugo, asking, "Are you sure?" As we see Bakugo ripping up the letter Deku said, as he begins to say that, that damn nerd is definitely with Endeavor, as we get the chapter of Friends. From what we see with this, as well as with the next few pages, we're going to be focusing on what happened a few days after Deku officially left UA, where we get this entire Class 1A, excluding Deku, all sitting in their lounging area, as Bakugo is basically giving them the runaround about what's going on, as we have Ida basically questioning why both Bakugo, Tokoyami, as well as Shoto haven't contacted the main 3 heroes, the big pro heroes, to basically confirm this idea, which they basically are saying that, we couldn't really get in contact with them, as we do see the panel of their respective mentors behind them, Hawks behind Tokoyami, Best Genius behind Bakugo, and Endeavor behind Shoto, as we have Bakugo taking up the front line with the help of Shoto about how Shoto thought that he could trust his father after their talk, and how Endeavor is supposed to be helping Shoto, as well as we have Jiro chiming in about, are you really sure that All Might is working with them, as well as with Ojiro, because they haven't seen All Might at all, where we also get a little bit more confirmation about how their school life is going right now. We get the confirmation that they're still technically Class 1A because they haven't been allowed to graduate yet, and that their graduation is on delay, and how the hero students are to be on duty securing the perimeter, and that it's difficult to obtain information. So it's very interesting to see that, they are in a state of panic where all of the schools are closed. The students can't go to school because the entire Japanese government is basically ablaze. Weirdly enough, that seems very familiar, especially with these times. But it shows that the students are in just as much trouble, and they are just as restricted as the general populace, showing how much this world has basically crumbled around them. But even when it comes to all of this, and after all of that, we still have Bakugo, who's most likely the one who initiated this entire conversation with the entire class, basically telling them that, Deku and All Might are working together. That is a fact, and it's a bad idea. He even explains why it's a bad idea, and he also explains that if Deku was really afraid of staying at UA, then how would he leave the letters for us? He has to be working with someone else, and that someone else has to be All Might, which, makes sense. And you still have people questioning him, Aoyama, Kaminari, questioning him if he's sure, because the top three heroes are teaming up, and they didn't say that they were teaming up with anyone else, but from our perspective, we know that that's sort of kind of a front, and how they all three of them teamed up to work together, but they also teamed up together to work with All Might and Deku. And it makes sense for Bakugo to be the one pushing this idea, even though we know it's right. People are very like speculative of it because he really doesn't have that much evidence, but the evidence that he does have is based off what he knows about Deku, what he knows about All Might, and how he's one of the very few people that knows them best, and how he says that this is the worst case scenario for them working together, which, as we've seen, it is the worst case scenario. So with that, he's able to pretty much convince everyone in the class to be by his side, but then they're still beginning to question, like, okay, then how do we get in contact with you? Can't get in contact with Best Genius, Tokoyami can't get in contact with Hawks, Shoto can't get in contact with Endeavor, then how are we supposed to get in contact with them, gather information so that we can go and find Deku and All Might? And that's coming from Kirishima, but what is very amazing is the idea that is brought up on how to do it, because we have Ochako chiming in. It's like, well, Endeavor is a UA alumni. Let's get a little bit pushy. And I really enjoy this. We actually see what the plan is, but I really enjoy the fact that Uraraka is the one to initiate this idea about being a little bit pushy, as we've seen that most likely she, Bakugo, are probably the ones that were affected by the letters the most. We don't see Bakugo read the letter, most likely because all of the letters pretty much said the exact same thing, but that Bakugo understands the situation because he knows Deku, which is why he ripped it up, and Uraraka also understands and knows Deku, which is why that she's taking the initiative as well when it comes to how to find Deku. And as we see, her plan was basically to trick Nezu into inviting Endeavor to the school and for them to trap Endeavor in their principal office just to talk to them. As we see Endeavor basically looking at the kids and say, Nezu, you tricked me, as we see that they are now all in the same room. And this is where we get into a very interesting conversation / argument where Nezu is saying like, yeah, I discussed it with the students and that's why I let them in, that's why I let them do this, as we have Shoto confronting his father about how he has been missing his calls and how he hasn't been keeping in contact with him. And what's very interesting about this is that we don't get an exact time for when this is happening, because we're always assumed that Deku has been gone for a month, because it said that in April he left UA, and we always thought that this probably happened within like a month of each other. But from what we're getting with this flashback, because this is all of this chapter for the most part is in flashback, this scene is happening a few moments after Endeavor, as well as the other pro heroes, found that building. It exploded. They talked to each other, where we see that Endeavor is ignoring Shoto. So most likely this is happening a few moments after that. But this is also coming to the idea that Deku, for a while, it's been a while since he's been working on his own. It's been a while since he abandoned All Might, but because we don't get a specific time, we can't pinpoint it exactly, but most likely all of the situation is happening after that moment where the pro heroes got exploded by that building. So it's very interesting to see possibly that confirmation here. But then cutting back to the story, the chapter proper, we see Shoto basically chastising Endeavor. He tells him, like, do you remember that conversation we had with Toya where Endeavor's like, yeah, I remember that conversation. It saved me. But Shoto says, but he doesn't feel saved, and is Midoriya an exception? Basically, he's like, okay, you said that we wanted to save Toya, but what about Midoriya? He's going down a dark path. And then you have Shoto basically asking Endeavor if he's going to let Deku and All Might act on their own. Is he going to allow them to do this? And here is where we have Bakugo coming in, and pretty much Bakugo just takes charge throughout this entire chapter, and he basically tells Endeavor off by saying that, yeah, you know, allow like All Might and Deku to work together and you be on the sidelines. Yeah, that seems like to be a very good idea. Heck, it may have been the right idea, but unfortunately, I know that damn nerd. And yeah, no, this is literally the worst case scenario. He's the type of person that just doesn't give up. He's basically acting like All Might. They're basically the same thing. And we saw what happened with All Might. So yeah, you can't stop him. We have to do it. We're the ones that have to stop Deku. This is basically what Bakugo says, as we also get a flashback to them getting confirmation that Deku had already left All Might. confirming the fears of Bakugo in Endeavor's heads most likely, as we see that Endeavor is also taking out a phone and he's thinking about whether or not his decision was right, as we have Sero basically looking at his phone like, oh hey, is that a GPS? As we probably get like a very unexpected scene with a few unexpected heroes where we get to see Shota, we get to see Mineta, we get to see Sero, as well as we get to see Hagakure, as well as we get to see Mina in the background, who are all charging for the GPS, as we have like Sero and Mineta basically like, sorry, can we borrow this? We just happen to be his classmates, so sorry. So like they are willingly like sort of kind of attacking the number one hero to get something of theirs, as well as apologizing for it, showing that, yeah, they're still kind of terrified of Endeavor, but their wanting to save Deku is greater than that, as we even have Shota basically chiming in about how he only spent a year with Deku, but still, as we continue the conversation, where, to sum it up, yeah, we've only known him for a few years, we understand why he wants to hide one for all, but these letters didn't convince us. It was a shock, but it didn't convince us, as we also have Ida chiming in about how they are members of Class 1A and that wherever Deku is, they're here to help because they're friends. They can't allow Deku just to hold this responsibility on his own, and that they can't smile tomorrow knowing that Deku is walking down this horrible path today, which is very unfortunate because this goes against what Deku thinks that he needs to do, which is to walk down this thorny path to guarantee that people are going to smile in the future. Showing that, yeah, there is going to be conflict, and I wonder how this conflict is going to be resolved. So after that riveting speech from Ida, Endeavor tells the students that the world is dangerous and that there is no sense of order outside. As he's trying to convince the students not to do this, Nezu chimes in by saying that they've grown up, haven't they? As he tells them that Deku is the main target for the villains, and how he thought that it was best for them to go out and help and find him, but he's changed his mind on that because he tells them that Deku is allowed to come back to UA, and he's able to do that because he was sent the notification of his acceptance, and that once you are accepted as a student of UA, that UA will try to protect you to the best of their abilities, as we also get a flashback within the flashback of Uraraka hearing Nezu saying, "This is your Hero Academia." And this is very important and very impactful because it shows that once you are accepted into UA, no matter like what you do in the school, and even if you decide to leave, you're still allowed back to the school, that the school will welcome you back with open arms, and that's amazing. Also, you know, they have the UA security barrier that we have not seen yet. So yeah, it's not only that Deku can come back, but Nezu is basically confirming to Endeavor, who is very skeptical of the situation because of all the civilians there, but Nezu basically tells him that it's fine, we have the UA security barrier. The reason why we wanted everyone here isn't because of the square footing, but it's because we're confident that we can literally protect everyone with this barrier. Most likely in the future, we're going to see how effective that barrier is, and I would like to really see Shigaraki trying to decay the barrier, but it's made of some type of substance that is undecayable, or it takes a while to decay. So that will be very interesting to see how indestructible that barrier is. So that's something that's going to be a MacGuffin, or it's going to be a Chekhov's gun. Yeah, I didn't spend time trying to look it up. Yeah, hopefully the UA barrier is going to be a Chekhov's gun. So Nezu gives his approval to the students to go and bring Deku back to UA where he belongs, and to lend him a helping hand. As we cut back over to the present after Bakugo fired his explosion at Dictator, and Shoto apparently also froze Dictator, we cut back over to the present where we see everyone is going about doing the hero duties. Momo confirms that Dictator is secured as she calls for Bakugo-san, as Bakugo chastises her again. You can tell that Bakugo plays a big role in this chapter, as he says, "It's great explosion, murder god, dynamite," as Momo says sorry and pardons herself. After everyone has run away to safety, Deku questions why everyone is there, and everyone, specifically Uraraka, responds with because they're worried about him. And unfortunately, the stubborn person that Deku is, he responds with that he's okay and that they need to leave and that they don't need to worry about him. But after Deku says that, Bakugo, because he's been chastising literally everyone this entire chapter, chastises Deku as well by saying, oh, that's expected from the majestic next user of One for All. But let me ask you this, how can you smile after all this, as we see Bakugo with a big smile on his face as he chastises Deku? Deku responds to Bakugo's chastisation by saying that for him to be able to smile, for people to live in peace, he needs to keep moving forward, as we see that he tells them as he's going full cowling, all of you get out of the way. Deku, you're not gonna do what I think you're gonna do, right? Like, you're not gonna fight your classmates, are you? As we have Bakugo chiming in, he's like, just try and make us, you all might wanna be. As Ida chimes in with, we know you won't change your mind. Let's go, guys. As Uraraka says, yeah. As we end the chapter with Deku potentially planning on fighting his own friends. Deku, can I tell you something? Heroes shouldn't fight each other. You should accept their help because, you know, you're all heroes. You can't do this alone, Deku. Oh, the irony of this chapter, and I don't think we're on break. So, yeah, that's the end of this chapter. Let me just say this. Oh my gosh, this was a very, very great chapter. Not only did we focus on Class 1A, as well as finally get to see the reactions to, you know, Deku dropping out of UA, but we also get to see a lot of character growth and development from no one else but, well, not no one else, but to no surprise, Bakugo, as he basically takes charge of this entire chapter. Bakugo, in a series where Midoriya is the protagonist, in this chapter is basically the protagonist. He takes center stage, he speaks his mind, and he's one of the very few that initiates the conflict needing to be resolved in this chapter. He's the one that tells everyone that Deku and All Might are working together because he knows them the best, because he knew about the secret of One for All before everyone else. He's the one that goes against Endeavor and tells him that his decision to allow All Might and Deku to work together is wrong because they are too similar and that it's going to lead down a dangerous path. Even in the present, he's the one that basically takes up the line to tell off Deku, and is the one who understands that for them to stop Deku, they must fight. As well as we have Uraraka and Ida also playing big roles in this chapter, which is very impactful because they are also some of the first few characters that we can pretty much say were Deku's friends. So the fact that we end the chapter with both Bakugo, Ida, and Uraraka planning on taking a stance, even if it means fighting Deku to bring him back to UA, very amazing to see it because it plays within their character and just makes sense for them to do it. So overall, it's very nice to see how the students in Class 1A, even though they've only known Deku for a year, view him as a very important friend, how they value him so much, even to the point where they're wanting to go against Endeavor, the #1 hero, just to do it. So it's very amazing to see that everyone views Deku not just as a normal classmate, but as a true bona fide friend that they're willing to protect, even if it means fighting him themselves. So most likely next chapter we're going to get a fight, not necessarily with everyone in Class 1A, but probably everyone in Class 1A versus Deku, and hopefully within the next few chapters Deku realizes that he's been an idiot this entire time. He's walking down a similar path that Endeavor, and hopefully Deku realizes that he's walking down a horrible path that is going to lead to nothing but destruction, and hopefully prove all for one wrong by joining forces with his fellow classmates to stop the villains, as well as protect them, as well as them protecting him. So overall, I really enjoyed this chapter. Can't wait for next week's chapter, and hopefully you enjoyed this chapter as well as this review. And I really can't wait for the official release to see more of the colored pages for this chapter. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this chapter so far. Hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you liked it, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, leave a like on this video, leave a comment down below on who do you think is going to win between Deku and Class 1A. I may make a video about that this upcoming week, but leave your thoughts down below, as well as subscribe to my YouTube channel if you like this type of content. Hit the notification bell to be notified for whenever I upload more content like this, as well as just keep watching My Hero Academia videos, because My Hero Academia is a great story, it's a a great series in Shonen Jump, and I think that you should continue reading / watching it as well as watching me. So yeah, do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in the next video. Goodbye!